Commanders fans, let's talk about what's really happening in Washington right now. This organization is clearly trying to refine itself, sharpen its identity, and build something sustainable. Every move this offseason feels intentional. The goal isn't just to make noise, it's to build a foundation that produces consistent results in January, not just flashes in September. That means tough decisions are coming. Before we dive in, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It helps this community grow and keeps you locked into exclusive Commanders coverage all off-season long. Now let's get into it, because the tone around this team has shifted in a major way. Commanders fans, if you want the official Washington Commanders store, the link is in the description and in the comment. Tons of new gear available. Usually, this time of year is about who's coming in. Big names, splash signings, headlines. But this offseason, the buzz isn't about arrivals, it's about departures. Around the league, multiple well-known veterans connected to the Washington Commanders are being discussed as potential exits once free agency opens. And if these moves happen, they won't just affect the roster, they'll send a clear message about the direction of the franchise. Let's start with Bobby Wagner. Wagner has been a steady, respected presence in Washington, a future Hall of Famer, a tone setter, a leader in the locker room. But age and timeline matter in this league. The Commanders are clearly leaning younger, trying to build something that peaks in the next few seasons, not something that squeezes out one last run. According to Fox Sports reporter Greg Auman, the Los Angeles Rams and the Seattle Seahawks are two teams to watch regarding Wagner's future. Auman wrote that a new coordinator in Washington could signal Wagner signing elsewhere, potentially chasing a second Super Bowl ring before his career winds down. And that's the key word, timeline. Does Washington's timeline match Wagner's? Right now, it feels uncertain. Then there's Von Miller. The respect is undeniable, but veteran pass rushers don't hang around for rebuilds. They want meaningful football in January, and Washington may not be positioned to offer that immediately. Miller has already openly expressed interest in a reunion with the Denver Broncos, the franchise where he became a legend. He even said he would love to return, mentor Nick Bonito, and contribute in any way possible. That doesn't sound like a player waiting on Washington's long-term project. That sounds like someone thinking about legacy. And that's not a knock on the Commanders. It's just reality. If the front office is prioritizing cap flexibility and youth development over short-term splashes, veterans like Wagner and Miller may not fit the blueprint anymore. Now here's where things get really interesting. Deebo Samuel. When Washington brought him in, the move made sense. He was a proven weapon from the San Francisco 49ers, a versatile playmaker who could line up anywhere. The expectation was that he would thrive in Cliff Kingsbury's system, but it never quite clicked. The fit felt forced at times. The production never fully matched the promise. And now, with Kingsbury gone and a new offensive direction emerging, both sides might see value in a fresh start. Adding fuel to the fire, his former teammate George Kittle hinted that Samuel could return to San Francisco, even joking about hanging out with him recently. Could Deebo reunite with the 49ers? It's not impossible. And if that happens, it would signal something very important. Washington is not interested in keeping veteran names just for appearances. They're not trying to look competitive. They're trying to be strategically competitive. When head coach Dan Quinn spoke to the media this week, the tone was consistent with what we've been hearing for months. Patience, discipline, long-term thinking. This might not be the flashy offseason some fans expected. It might actually be quieter. And if that happens, it's not an accident. It's a plan. Clearing cap space, letting younger players step into bigger roles, creating flexibility, that's how you build something sustainable. And speaking of sustainability, let's talk offense. For the past 2 seasons, one thing has frustrated Commanders fans more than almost anything else: the misuse of Terry McLaurin. Let's be honest, he hasn't just been underutilized, he's been mismanaged. Over the last 2 years, McLaurin was targeted 10 or more times in a game only 4 times. Meanwhile, he was targeted fewer than 5 times in 9 games during that same span. For a player of his caliber, that's unacceptable. Now, new offensive coordinator David Blough is changing the conversation. Blough made it clear this offense will be built around getting McLaurin 10 targets per game and generating explosive plays that flip the field. That's not coach speak, that's a declaration. Look around the league at how elite receivers are used. Jamar Chase has 17 games with double-digit targets. Puka Nacua has 15. Even Malik Neighbors, early in his career, already has 11. And then there's Terry McLaurin, a proven veteran who has rarely been treated like a true number one. Blow sees the imbalance. But this isn't about forcing the ball. It's about designing an offense that flows through its best weapon. Blow described the foundational pillars of the offense as quarterback Jaden Daniels, Terry McLaurin, and left tackle Terman Laramie Tunsil. Quarterback, WR1, blindside protector. That's the blueprint you see across the NFL when offenses are successful. If Blow can bring that vision to life, it could completely reshape Washington's offensive identity in 2026. The Commanders kicked off the offseason with a bang, moving on with both coordinators. The biggest headline, parting ways with offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury and promoting young offensive mind David Blow. At the time, it shocked a lot of people. Kingsbury had built a strong relationship with quarterback Jaden Daniels. Daniels showed flashes, even battled through injuries, and the offense, statistically, wasn't the primary issue last season. But Quinn made the call anyway, and according to Sims, that move may have put Quinn squarely on the hot seat. On NBC on NFL, Sims called it one of the craziest moves of the entire offseason. He argued that changing offensive coordinators could potentially frustrate Daniels, disrupt chemistry, and risk the development of a young quarterback who just won Rookie of the Year honors. He went even further, saying that Quinn's seat is now scorching hot. That's strong language. Sims' frustration centered on three main points. Why move on with Kingsbury when the offense wasn't the biggest problem? Why replace him with someone who has never called plays at the NFL level? And why change defensive schemes if Quinn was hired as a defensive specialist? Let's unpack that. Sims believes Kingsbury's system was trending upward. He argued that Daniels looked poised for growth in year 2, and despite injuries, the offense wasn't what sank the team. He also pointed out that Quinn was brought in for his defensive expertise, yet he's handing defensive play calling to someone else in 2026 while installing a new scheme. From the outside, it looks like a major gamble. But is it reckless, or is it calculated?
Let's step back. The Commanders finished 5-12. Something had to change. While the offense had its moments, it also operated with one of the lowest rates of plays under center and struggled with consistency in key situations. There were stretches where rhythm disappeared completely. Kingsbury's system had flashes of brilliance, but flashes aren't enough in today's NFL. And here's something important. Kingsbury went through the entire coaching cycle without landing a head coaching or offensive coordinator job elsewhere before eventually joining the Los Angeles Rams. If he were universally viewed as one of the elite offensive minds in football, would that have happened? It's a fair question. Meanwhile, internally, the Commanders clearly believe David Blough represents innovation, adaptability, and long-term upside. Promoting from within preserves continuity in terminology while allowing evolution in philosophy. It's risky, but sometimes calculated risk is what separates stagnation from progress. Now let's talk defense. Sims questioned why Quinn, a defensive-minded head coach, would bring in a new coordinator and a new system instead of calling plays himself. The answer may be simpler than we think. The old approach wasn't working. The Commanders' defense struggled with consistency, communication, and explosive plays allowed. Keeping the same scheme just because it was familiar would have been comfortable, but comfort doesn't win games. Hiring Durante Jones signals a true philosophical shift. Jones brings a different structure, different coverage principles, and a different voice. Instead of doubling down on what failed, Quinn chose to pivot. That's not weakness, that's accountability. Make no mistake, Sims is right about one thing. The pressure is on. When you move on from established coordinators and promote a young play caller, you are attaching your reputation to that decision. If the offense stalls, the criticism will be loud. If Daniels regresses, the spotlight will intensify. And yes, if the team has another losing season, conversations about Quinn's future will happen. That's the NFL. But calling it the worst move of the offseason? That feels dramatic. Let's not forget something important. According to ESPN's way too early 2026 power rankings, the Washington Commanders are currently slotted at number 20 in the league. Not bottom 5, not irrelevant, but not contenders either. The difference between 20th and top 10 often comes down to internal growth, quarterback development, schematic efficiency, and defensive identity. If Blau unlocks another level in Daniels, if Jones stabilizes the defense, if the off-season additions hit, this narrative flips quickly. Suddenly, Quinn looks visionary instead of reckless. This offseason wasn't about playing it safe. It was about resetting the trajectory. Quinn could have stayed conservative. He could have kept Kingsbury, tweaked minor things, and hoped for marginal improvement. Instead, he chose disruption. That's uncomfortable. It invites criticism. It gives analysts like Sims ammunition. But it also creates possibility. And possibility is something Washington desperately needs. Here's the big picture. The Commanders appear ready to turn the page. Not recklessly, not dramatically, but deliberately. If Wagner leaves, if Miller moves on, if Debo finds a new home, those departures won't signal failure. They'll signal commitment to a long-term plan. Meanwhile, the offense is being redesigned around its true core, around Daniels, around McLaurin, around a philosophy that prioritizes explosive efficiency. This offseason may not be loud, but it could be pivotal. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think Washington should move on from these veteran names and fully embrace the youth movement, or should they fight to keep leaders like Wagner and Miller around a little longer? And how excited are you about David Blau building this offense around Terry McLaurin? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more exclusive Commanders coverage. The offseason is heating up, and you won't want to miss what comes next. Official Washington Commanders gear, fresh new drops, and exclusive items, all in the link below. Check it out. See you in the next one, Commanders family.